I couldn't get a GDC ticket this year, so I did something a little different, a little weird. I posted on LinkedIn and opened up my calendar to anyone who wanted to talk about game UX. There was no cost, no catch, just if you want to talk, let's talk. My name is Alister Felix, and I've been in the gaming industry for almost a decade now. I've done live service, AAA, mobile, indie games, all the way up to major studios. I went to GDC this week without a ticket. Here's what happened. So quick thing first, if you don't know what GDC is, it stands for Game Developers Conference. It's one of the biggest gathering of game industry professionals in the world. There are talks, there are workshops, there are networking events, and the tickets range from hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on the pass. And for a lot of people, especially early in their careers, it's just not that accessible. So I posted on LinkedIn, said I'm opening up my calendar, and if you want to talk about game UX, let's find 30 minutes. And then I waited. Within a few days, my calendar was full. There were about 20 conversations, different people, different stages of their careers, and I've had some of my most real conversations I've had about this industry in a long time. Here's what people actually asked me. Most of the people who reached out were early in their careers. Junior designers, they were students, and most of them were just trying to figure out if game UX was even a path they can take. And what stuck with me is that it wasn't always about the technical questions that came up. It wasn't about what tools I should use or what my portfolio should look like. We will address that later. It was the fear-based questions, the ones that people are almost embarrassed to ask out loud. One of the first conversations I had, they opened with, I just need to know if I'm wasting my time. And that was the first thing they said to me. I've heard some versions of this question more times than I can count. You look at job postings wanting 5 years of experience for an entry-level role. You look at other people's portfolios and they just look crazy incredible. And you start wondering if you even belong in the same room. Impostor syndrome in this industry is real. I felt it, and so have a lot of professionals I know. It doesn't mean that you're not ready. It just means you're paying attention. Game UX is still UX. You know, the empathy, clarity, research, structure, feedback, systems. If you understand all those things, you have more than you think. The gap most of the time isn't about the ability. It's just exposure. You haven't had the chance to apply what you know in a game context yet. The gap closes faster than you'd expect once you actually start designing. And then there was the AI question. The AI question came out in almost every conversation. One designer put it in a way that really stuck with me. I'm scared I'm going to spend 2 years trying to break into the industry and it won't exist by the time I get there. I just want to be honest here because a lot of people give a very black and white answer to this question, but I feel like the reality is a lot more complicated. Yes, AI is changing game development. It's changing UX. It's changing how teams work, how fast things ship. That's very real. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't. Yes, things are going faster and more efficient, but efficient doesn't always mean good. And like every powerful tool in this industry, the people who learn how to use it become more valuable, not less. Game UX specifically is about understanding player psychology. You know, how people feel, how they learn, how they get feedback from an experience, and that's, I believe, deeply human work. AI can't replace that judgment that comes from actually understanding people. The path into game UX isn't a straight line. There's no one degree, there's no one boot camp, no one job title that gets you there. People that I've known who got into game UX come from graphic design, psychology, there are scientists, even fashion designers. And that's what I think makes the field so interesting. But it's also what makes it feel overwhelming and so competitive. My honest answer is just start with your portfolio. What you can do matters way more than where you went to school or what your job title was. I've seen designers break into AAA studios with side projects, and I've seen people get hired off of UX breakdowns of games they love. And you already know how to play games. You already have opinions on what feels good and what doesn't, and that's where you need to start. Build a portfolio. Yes, it's easy to say and hard to actually do. So let's just make a whole section about it. The most common follow-up across almost every session was some version of, how do I build a game UX portfolio when I don't have any actual game UX experience? You don't need a job to start building a game UX portfolio. You just need a game you love. Pick one you already play, find a real friction point, like bad onboarding, maybe a confusing UI menu, a tutorial, perhaps that loses people. Redesign it, and remember to respect the designer who designed it, and document the whole process. What wasn't working, what you tried, what you could have done better, where you landed, why you landed where you landed. And that case study done well can say more about how you think. What gets you hired is the thinking underneath, the storytelling, the problem where you tried that didn't work, the trade-offs, the tech and business constraints, the why behind every choice. Those are what makes a good story. On how many projects you actually need, I would say 2 to 3, not 10. I've seen portfolios with 2 really well-reasoned projects, and that beats 8 shallow ones every time. Hiring managers are looking for evidence of how you can think, and not proof that you can produce volume. Most of the conversation that week, I was the one answering the questions. That's kind of the whole point. And I love that. But 2 of them completely flipped. These 2 people reached out to me to talk about game UX, but when I actually looked at what they were actually doing, I was the one asking all the questions. One was working in a space I generally never thought of as a UX discipline, and the other one was doing something at the intersection of games in a completely different industry. But this is why you show up, even without a ticket, even without a plan. You don't know who you're going to meet and what you're going to learn when you just open the door. I hope that curiosity never goes away. Most opportunities come from people and not job portals. And that's at least still the thing I believe the most. Hey, real quick, if this resonates with you, please like and subscribe. I'm making more videos about what it actually looks like to build a career in game UX, so I appreciate the support. All right, let's keep it going. There was another part of GDC week that hit differently. There was a community event specifically for AAPI and Latinx and Black developers, and I volunteered as a mentor. I want to talk about this carefully because I don't want to make it sound like something that it wasn't. It wasn't me showing up to get advice and then leave. It was being in the room with young developers who are showing their games, sharing their work, talking about why they make what they make. My job wasn't to evaluate them, it was just to listen and give them a platform to talk about their own work. There's something that happens in a room like that. You see people who don't always see themselves in the industry doing the work anyway, making games anyway, showing up anyway. The games industry has a representation problem. Events like this one are part of how that changes, by literally creating space for developers from underrepresented communities to show their work and be seen. This was the part of GDC week that nobody really writes about. It was definitely the part I'll remember the most. Every year during GDC week, there's a game UX meetup. If you're in this space already, you probably know about it. I've been going as one of the mentors alongside other game UX professionals. Celia Hodent, if you don't know her already, she wrote The Gamer's Brain, basically the foundational text for understanding player psychology in game design. She is one of the most respected voices in this field. I made a full video breaking down one of her books. It's linked below if you want to go check that out and go deep on the science behind everything I've been talking about today. The questions I was getting from this group were a little different. Most of them already had the job. They weren't asking how to get in, but they were asking how to survive once they were in. One of them was the only UX person at their studio. Nobody on the team had worked with one before, so nobody was really listening. So my answer, and this is something Celia and I agree on a lot, is that if nobody's listening, there's a communication problem before it's a design problem. You don't convert a whole studio at once. You have to translate UX into language that they already speak. Whether it's business lingo, you find the person who gets it and you start from there. Someone else asked also, how do you prove the ROI of UX work? How do you get budget for a real team, etc., etc.? This one is complicated, but I would say data. even small data. Even qualitative playtest quotes beat no evidence at all. Be a data-informed designer. This will help you go far. And with that, I feel like all the conversations I had that week, that was the real conference for me. And that's the part that I carry with me to this day. Here's what I actually took from GDC week without a ticket. I came in thinking I had some good conversations, help a few people figure out their next step, and maybe learn something about myself. Yes, all that happened, but the bigger thing I keep coming back to is belonging in this industry doesn't require you a ticket. It doesn't require a certain job title, a certain school, or a certain number of shipped games. It requires you to show up, being curious, being willing to just open the door and see who walks in. So if you're out there wondering if you belong in this space, you're already a game UX designer. You just got to level up. I'm proud of you. This stuff can feel overwhelming and gated and sometimes just really weird, but you're showing up anyway. That's more than enough. So yeah, drop a like if this was helpful, share with someone who needs to hear it, and leave your questions in the comments. I actually read them. If you're curious about what to watch next, check out my How to Get Into Game UX video here and my Celia Hodent book breakdown here. I also have linked below a full Game UX career strategy guide. I'll put in the description below. But yeah, I'm Alister Felix. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!